Steam. There was never anything like it, and there probably never will be again. For 150 years, steam has turned the wheels of the world, and in so doing, created its own world. The environment of the rail, which linked people and places, and made possible a new means of communication. And pulling each train, the sculptured epitome of man's creative mechanical genius, the locomotive, an embodiment of design, beauty, and symmetry, rarely exceeded before or since. The footplate, domain of driver and fireman, with dials, pipes, and gauges crammed into every available space. Intense heat radiates from a firebox, the guts of a metal monster, as it thunders its way down twin ribbons of steel rail. The railway is not just metal, steam, and fire, but people. And special amongst these people are the men who drive these locomotives. Jan Reeder, long experienced on the footplate, is such a person.
A machine is my friend. Because she works hard, and you work hard, and so we'll go every day. I started on the railways in 1944 at Ellisdale. Steam is in my blood, and I won't go over to the diesel. I stay on the steam engine because that is a job for a man and not for a wife. Yes, the old days was hard, but good old days. A driver must depend on this fireman. Yes, that is my life. A steam engine is my life. And that is my life, that is my bread.
Jan Reeder is a devoted steam man, whose life story is one of pride and love of his job. The rails, too, have a story to tell, each line unique in the grand picture of the railway, combining geography and history in a tight mix of people and places. Here we have the story of a unique steam-powered railway which combines the best of all these things. Trains leaving a seaside terminus climb the coastal foothills, crossing deep valleys on high spidery bridges. Once on the coastal shelf, the railway turns inland, confronting the formidable Otaniqua Range, deceptively soft in its luxuriant green cover. For such a railway, a special locomotive is needed, an articulated giant called a garret. These double-jointed machines were designed for determined slogging service on steeply graded, tightly curved lines, of which Montague Pass is one of the few remaining examples in the world today, where steam is still king. A more appropriate name would be hard to find. Located midway on the climb of Montague Pass, where uphill trains stop to clean fires and take water, while downhill trains slide past, brake shoes straining to slow the momentum of hundreds of tons of train weight. And when the trains have departed, the ash pits must be cleaned. At Power, this is still done by hand. In many parts of the world, a generation of young people have grown up without seeing a live steam locomotive. Jeff Hall, an Englishman from near Bristol, was born too late to work on British steam, but whose greatest desire was to experience the age that had already passed into history in his own land.
I came to South Africa to work on steam locomotives, which I've always been interested in. Steam locomotives finished in Britain 10 years ago, and this is one of the last countries in the world where I can work on steam engines. That's the only answer, really. The steam engines have got something, I mean, they're unique, really. I mean, they're almost a living thing. There's nothing else like them. It's difficult to say, but it's just got a fascination for me. There's nothing else that can compare with them. I mean, a diesel locomotive or anything else. Well, each engine is individual, I suppose. You have to know how to fire it. Some locomotives you have to coax to get the steam, and others will steam freely. Sometimes we get bad coal and we have to struggle, but usually we get through. The driver and I work as a team. So we work the engine together and we try and get the best what we can from it. After a while, one gets into a rhythm on the engine, on the footplate. It's difficult to explain unless you've actually been a fireman, because a person from outside can't really get that feeling, I don't think.
And like so many things of the old world, in the face of modern technology, the steam engine too will become obsolete. Rob Allingham, an American from the state of California.
Well, I really don't know why I became such a fanatic about steam locomotives. It's just something that has been in my blood all my life for one reason or another. I sort of had an otherwise normal childhood, went to university, and upon completing my courses there wasn't really anything else I wanted to do except go railroading. So I worked for about 5 years in two various capacities in the state, saw a lot of country, and when I found out that it was possible to come here and work on steam, I just really had no choice but to take up the option. Well, to a person that's not really familiar with steam, I suppose they must consider steam to be just sort of an ordinary machine, much like any other. But actually, a steam engine has a sort of peculiar quality about it. First of all, because it's of such a non-automatic nature, it's the sort of machine that requires a real personal involvement. It just does not run by itself. It's not like an internal combustion machine that one turns on and off. And that's the source of a lot of hard work and sweat, but it's also why you get such a peculiar satisfaction out of working on them. That is like working with no other machine. It's almost as if you're working with some sort of a person. The steam is like, it's like blood, and the roar of the fire. It has a very peculiar sensuality to it. In certain ways, it's almost like going perhaps to a Rolling Stones concert. It's loud, it's rhythmic, it's something you can get just totally sucked up into. In many ways, it's just the most satisfying thing I've ever done in my life of any sort. The source of real sadness to me to see steam dying. I want to stick around as long as I can and work on it, but I realize that unless present circumstances change radically, it's pretty much a dying art. But diesels, well, they may have their advantages, but I'm not interested in working on them because I know from my experience on them in the United States that it is an easier and a cleaner job, but it's duller and it's far less satisfying. It's just a job, whereas working on steam is something more than a job. It's a lifetime. It's a life love.